left side, dragging it from the left and moving it to the right side of the object, I need to move it greater than like the distance of like the width of the object. So, which is actually a pretty decent rule. It should like snap to this side that you're dragging it to, right? Which should be actually a closer point to where you are than otherwise. So if I like drag this all the way over here, and then I do like a snap, it'll work. Okay. Okay, getting close, getting close. So what we want to see now is basically which direction we're dragging towards. So I need to get the world to pixel of the current location is what it looks like. So we want like our current screen location, our target actor screen location, and then we've also got our mouse screen location. And what we really want to know is where in relation to our target actor screen location our mouse is, because if our mouse is to the right of it, then we want to snap to the right of the object. So all we have to do is world the pixel. Alright, so we want the float y offset is going to be alright. We need to say if what target actor screen location dot what? Crap, what are these units in? I need to know if x and y, which axis x and which axis y we're looking at. So I know which way is up and down and left and right and all that. Or maybe there's a screen to world? Yeah, there's a pixel to world. Transforms a point from pixel coordinates relative to the view into the world's view space. So transform a point from pixel coordinates relative to the views. And then the z of this is going to be the z for their position, so their pos.z. So if, and what does this return? F vector 4? Let's see, pixel to world, Unreal. Cursor position. If cursor position dot y is greater than their pos dot y, else if cursor position dot y is less than their pos dot y, if cursor position dot c is greater than their pos dot c, else if cursor position dot c is less than their pos dot c. So if our y is greater, then we do this. So we want to I guess it's basically just the opposites of all these things. And we'll see if any of those actually make a difference. Basically, we should snap in the 4 cardinal directions based on our mouse. Actually, no, we should snap in 8. Well, 4 really, because we're using if else and we have no dead zone. So we're going to have to put a dead zone in there. This is just editor tooling stuff and kind of figuring out what's even available inside of Unreal, which is always super awesomely interesting. So cursor position is just like total trash, isn't it? I was setting the Z, I was setting the Y wrong, so yeah, that's why that would happen. So let's see if these things. I've never used the pixel to world stuff, so I'm not sure if I'm passing it in properly or even using it properly. Because I'm assuming like their Z is going to be like, well, that's the depth into the screen, and it'll figure out the proper transform for that. No idea. Hmm. I have a feeling that we're getting stuck on all sorts of other things in the terrain that we don't want to. Doesn't look like that rule I have for selecting the quadrant works at all. Well, let's see if some of the other rules worked at least. Like, let's not change the Z at all. Why is this all pissed off? Comment enclosed it into file. What? No, it's not. See if we can actually snap to the left side and if that actually works properly. Right, so that is snapping it to the left side of the object. And it looks like just doing anything with like two axes selected just sucks. So we only have to worry about changing one of these axes at a time. So what we need to do is check if our current actor is where our current actor is relative to the actor, and based on that we just see which side to go to. So do we have our position? No, we don't. So if our position dot y is less than their position dot y, do that. If our position dot y is greater than their position, so we're lower, so we're to the left of the object, so we want to snap to the left of the object. So we are to the right of it, so we want to snap to the right. We are above them, so we want to snap above them. We are below them, so we want to snap below them. So this might do it for us. So I can't easily snap on both of them. Is that a cheer, column Mort? It is. It's getting close. The only thing, we need a little bit of a dead zone is what it looks like for me. Because what I'd like to be able to do is snap it to the same Z as this thing. And right now it's just snapping it to the corner. Like I can't snap it to the same Z and X at the same time. Which really isn't too difficult, to be honest. Like, it's usually all we want. So, it's pretty close. You don't have the cool bitey one. Does that mean you're getting out of here? If so, thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Or are you just arriving? And yeah, you're just arriving. Alright, cool. So I think that's pretty close to good enough. Basically, this will snap our objects together for us. So if I want to like duplicate an object, I can then snap it right on there. And if I want to snap it lower, I can do it like that. Just so it's not absolutely perfect, but it's a lot better than one of us. Than it's a lot better than it was, and we can always just can always fix a few things. If it's just a matter of like, okay, we've got stuff kind of basically where it needs to go. I wonder if there's an easy rule here that I can use for snapping it. Because what I want to do is like you snap it in there. It's like it's offset. So you snap it in there, and then you want to snap it up. So maybe I just need to like, if the Z's are touching, then set them equal or something. So like if so it'd be something like if fmath, the absolute value of our position.z minus their position.z is less than, there's like float z diff and float y diff, and the z diff is like so. If this is less than z diff, then it's like closest. Yeah, so it'd be like if, else, kind of like this. then it'll lock it. So why don't we see if that's what we want. You stopped learning Python? What was wrong with Python? Was it the tabs and spaces? Like I don't know if learning Python would be super great. It's kind of nice to have a compiler there to like tell you all your stuff's screwed up. And Python really doesn't have that strict typing that can really help you start. Because it's a little bit daunting sometimes. You're like, well, what is this? It's like, well, it's anything. Be like, well, what is it? It'd be like, it could be anything. Be like, that doesn't answer my question. All right, so I've locked it there. I want to lock it there. I want to lock it here. So I can, if they're not locked in either, I want to lock it in the X. Okay, cool. Now I want to lock it in the Z. Cool. Okay, so it's a little bit finicky though. If I lock it with the Z, I want to lock it with the X. I can't do that. Why not? Alright, so the Y diff is 1000 blah blah blah. Our position dot Y is less than theirs. Let's see. You'd just rather draw. That's freaking funny, yeah. If you don't love programming, you won't love programming. It doesn't get better. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So we just want to get this last lock here with the Y's, so that if we're within the thing, then it'll nicely slot us in there. Yeah, it's always kind of difficult to mess around with some of these things when you're. There's something wrong with one of these numbers. Our position dot y minus their position is less than my width and their width. There it is. There it is. It's the else if. Yep, that's it. We were just screwing up. And that's a reason not to write retarded code like empty if blocks. I was like, this should be working. I don't understand. I know the debugger's lying to me about numbers and all that. That's just how the debugger works. It just lies. He's like, this number is 4. I'd be like, it's not 4. And I'd be like, it's totally 4. Like, shit, what are you, the Sony random number generator? Wonderful. All right, so this is exactly what Adam was asking for. This is basically what you do is you got this object and it's not centered, and you're like, I want to snap it to this guy. So you just hold the V key and drag it over. And you're like, I need to center it again. There you go. And you're like, I need it to be on the corner. Just drag it out and then do it like that. Well, don't go too far. Just go down a little bit. And you can't drag it in there like that. What you have to do is move it over and then you can center it. So it's a little bit touchy, but with a little bit of learning, we can very easily just place all the things, I think. And if you hold both of them, it gets all sorts of screwed up because it's trying to move you everywhere all at once, which is stupid. So in that way, we can actually snap geometry to snap stuff to other actors. And it's actually incorrect at the moment. The Y diff and Z diff are wrong. Because we're doing this like their offset and our offset sort of thing. We want like their box position and our box position. So the Z difference is going to be half our width and our height, and then we want the Y diff is, all right, so it's their offset. So this is going to be their box position Y, and it's going to be what, their position? We want this to be negative when it's to the left and positive to the right. So it's going to be our position minus their position. So it's going to be our box position minus theirs. So if we're to the right, this is going to be a positive number. Why does our position matter? So it's my width, their width. So the position is the middle of this thing. So we always want to add the width of us, and we want to add our width. And what we also want is we just take their offset. We add our offset as well. Alright, so I guess I do have it correct. The difference is has to do with our actual position. I think it's alright. I think we'll just do this. And let's just make sure we actually checked out the file and all that stuff. So we have this offset, and we have like this offset. So we're just going to say, yeah, well, you should be over there. And if this offset was negative, well, we're just going to keep adding that offset. I think it's correct. Because the offset is always going to give us the center. The offset, yeah, it's the middle of the box. I'm worried about like, well, what if the offset's not the middle of the box? And you're like, well, it's always the middle of the box. It's the definition of the fucking box is that it's the middle of the box is here, and then the extents are over there. So I'm getting confused with my geometry. Like a box has like 17 sides or something, and you roll it, and then like a dragon pops out, and then I don't know. After that, behavior is undefined. So I'm having trouble with basic geometry, and I should probably call it pretty quick here. So let's just make sure that we got this all working in a very basic sense. And this was the snap to grid for editor objects in the level. And we could take a shot at fixing the collision showing up in the entity editor, because I broke that the other day when I was dealing with blueprints and effects. I'm liking that. That feels really nice. That's freaking cool. We have snapping to objects, which is something that nobody else has with Unreal now, which is baller as fuck. I can throw a rock in here, and I can just snap the rock right on there. See that? Bam! Rock is placed. I put the rock on top of this thing, just like that. It's a rock on top of a log. Yeah. Oh, it's worth a celebration. That's right. Of course, those things are in the background, so God, they look weird with the jump, because they're just a little bit back, so they're actually using a perspective camera, so you can like look inside the log, right? Doesn't that look nuts? Like your eye just goes like, oh Jesus, why? What's going on here? Because if we throw all these at 0 like they should. Oh man, we snapped all 3 of these objects to the floor. Did you see that? That is awesome. Bitey's just sitting there inside of a rock. It's like, what's going on, guys? Just gonna chill out in this rock for a while. Ah, rock sucks. I'm going on the log. This log sucks. I'm going to space. Don't worry, space is right over here. We'll get there eventually. Cool. So, the one thing that sweet hiding spots. Yeah, and the camera and movement is like all sorts of screwed up since we changed the sizes of Bitey and everything. So if we go to our characters, what is not showing up right now is, if any of you remember, we used to be able to toggle this show collision on, and then we'd see collision, and we're not seeing any collision. That's a problem. So we need to figure out a way to get that collision back. And I'm going to take a quick bio break, and I'll be right back. So it has to do, the issue that we're having has to do with placing the components on these actors when we were loading, if I remember. It was basically we were creating these components inside of the paper 2D God, what the hell is it? It's the sprite component? Or is it paper 2D flipbook component? Or is it paper flipbook? .cpp. And it's basically these child physics components. And I think it's when I commented out, when I had fixed it for this deduplication thing. No, they're still not showing up. Huh, nothing. Well, let me take a look basically in the history for this thing. I basically want to look at the history for the paper 2D because we can go back in time. That's what you can do with Perforce. So if we just go and we go into the plugins folder for 2D and we go to paper 2D, and this is inside of the paper 2D thing itself. So source paper 2D. We can kind of see what we actually changed. And like we added this get components here, which prevents caching issues. We removed some other garbage. So this might be it. This might be it down here inside of that thing. And that's also one of the reasons to have source control in your project, is you can actually go back in time and be like, what did I exactly change? What was that thing that I did? And this is So let's just see if this makes it, because what I think is happening is our attachment root is a template object, and as a result of that, we are not making our collision objects. And this was breaking things pretty badly for when we wanted an effect. We were attaching components to all sorts of screwed up stuff in our objects. So I want to see if there's any way to like have my cake and eat it too with this thing.